What's going on, New Canoe Nation? Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for the second episode of the year. It's good to be back. If you guys missed last week's show, be sure to go back and watch that on Facebook, YouTube, all the podcast platforms. We had Gene Campbell on from the great state of Colorado. He does some veterans, organization type stuff. And it was a great episode, and look forward to seeing him and what he's going to do this season, both on and off the water. Should be some really cool stuff. So, but I'm keeping the trend going. Just wanted to get some of our newest team members on the show here for you guys. And just kind of introduce you guys to them, find out who their dealers are, what they do, both on and off the water, because a lot of us do some cool stuff behind the scenes when we're not, on the water, kayak fishing and stuff like that. Show season's in the air. So if you guys are heading out to shows, be sure to watch out for some of the, kayak dealers that are there, showing off some new canoes. Check out the boats, check out some of the accessories. I know myself, I will be at the Chicago Fishing Show in 2 weeks. Then I'll be in Indiana at the big Indiana Sports Travel and Boat Show. Then from there, I go up to Madison Fishing Expo. And then I will be at Red Crest and the Bassmaster Classic this year. So busy show season. If you guys are in those areas, be sure to stop by, say hello. Would love to see you guys all there. Should be some good stuff. But our guest tonight, I've known for a long time, really good dude. He's done some cool things in the kayak fishing world, did a podcast for a long time. He's helped a lot of kayak anglers out and, learning new techniques and the right way to do things. He comes from Central Tennessee, and he's in God's country, man. He fishes some beautiful places, does some cool things down there. He's also part of a tournament trail down there as well. So, good stuff. But without further ado, I'd like to get the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Ryan Milford in the house. How was that for an intro, bro? Uh-oh. Well, Ryan's got some signal issues. He'll be back in a second. But, drop in the comments where you guys are tuning in from, what kind of kayak you're floating out of. We don't even care if it's not a new canoe. We just want to know that you're here and spread love to everybody and where they're tuning in from. Drop in the comments what show you guys are looking forward to this show season. Where you're going, what you're looking forward to see, stuff like that. During the show, if you guys got any questions, comments, things like that, drop them in the chat and we will get those answered for you. So let's see. We got you back now.
What's going on, man?
Podcasting for noobs right here, bro.
Right? Hey, it couldn't have happened any better. We were perfectly fine talking before the show, and then suddenly we get started, and all of a sudden I just lose connection.
That's how it always goes, my man.
Right?
You've been in this game before.
Yeah, I've been there a time or two.
No, good stuff, man. So, give us a little background on you, man. How you got into kayak fishing, because you kind of got a little bit of a unique story there, and where you're from and all that good stuff, dude.
Well, I live in Middle Tennessee. Originally from Kentucky, been down here most of my life now. With kayaking, what's funny is several years before I got into kayak fishing, like when I first got into bass fishing in my early 20s, I had a buddy that had a bass boat, and he also had kayaks. And we'd go out in his bass boat, and he kept telling me, man, we need to go hit the creeks in my kayak sometime. And I was like, why would I want to go get in the kayak when you got a bass boat? Like,
right.
Like, they don't make sense to me. And so I never did it. And then, years down I say years, I mean, it was probably 5 years, 6 years after that.
Sure.
Like, I had some buddies that at work that were like, hey, we're gonna go kayaking this weekend. We got extra kayak. You want to go? And at this point, I didn't have a boat anymore because I used to have a John boat. And so I was like, you know what? I ain't been fishing in like a year or two. Let's go.
Sure.
So we went out, and man, it was just a blast. I ended up buying that kayak from my buddy because he had bought. It was like a 10-foot Pelican from Academy,
Sure.
and this dude's like 6'3", so, and I'm 6 foot, and so like he was really uncomfortable in it. So he bought something else and sold me that one. And yeah, so I mean, that was like 2018, and I used it several times through the rest of that year, and I believe it's 2019, like spring, I ended up buying a Vibe Sea Ghost. And, it was actually early 2019, I found Paddle and Fin, and,
Sure.
listening to y'all and getting y'all's advice, because until I started listening to y'all, in my head, like, best kayak out there was like an Ascend. So,
Sure.
so, just because that's what my buddies had. But, so I got more and more involved in it, and I mean, the rest is history. I ended up joining y'all on Paddle and Fin. I was the creator and original host of Bass Fishing for Noobs, and my man Sean Lavery's still holding it down over there. What's going on, Ethan? But yeah, it's, I don't know what else you want
Yeah,
to know about me.
we'll go down that rabbit hole. We got Clint Jenkins watching in on YouTube. He says, "What part of Middle Tennessee are you in?"
I live in the small town of Chapel Hill. Yeah, it's just a small 2 stoplight town. Good community.
There ain't very many more of them 2 stoplight towns left, man. I'm
I
jealous.
mean, this one's kind of, like, as far as infrastructure, we haven't really grown that much, but we're getting a ton of like townhomes and
Sure.
like neighborhoods and stuff being built around here. It's crazy how like the housing and the population has grown, but we don't have any more like restaurants or anything like that to
Sure.
support it. And Ethan, Ethan knows, he's like 20 minutes away from me.
Okay.
So,
Clint says he's from Cornersville.
oh, that's cool. See, Ethan's from Lewisburg. It's not that very far away from there.
Right on. Right on. Well, it's interesting, right? Like you, I remember back in the day, you had kind of hit me up and you were like, "Hey, I'm starting this podcast thing." And obviously at that point I had been in it for a while, or about a year probably or so.
It
Um,
was actually the 1-year anniversary, I believe, like, or coming up to it whenever I first contacted you.
yeah. Well, I remember too, because I was like, who's this dude, And I went and listened to your podcast, and
I'm sorry. It
it
was
was all
terrible.
good, man. We've
It was
all been
terrible.
there. We've all been there, right? But it was interesting in I've always said this to you too, because I always said, like, you were like one of my kids and I got to watch you grow up. You know what I mean? Because I remember when you got into bass fishing and stuff like that, it wasn't easy for you, right?
No.
You had a lot of struggles and stuff, but the thing I commend you for is you turned that into a positive, right? And that was part of the reason why you started your Bass Fishing for Noobs podcast, is because you're like, man, I don't know how to do some of this stuff. I'm not catching fish. I need to talk to people, and why not help other people? In that concept blew way up, and so I'm sure you still get comments and stuff like that, like, how much that's helped people on and off the water, figuring out how to catch these little green fish, that we all love.
What's cool is, like, I'm friends with a lot of like people that used to listen to the podcast when I was on it.
Sure.
And so now we've been friends for a couple of years or something. And I wanted to point out, it's kind of crazy. I can't believe it's already been like a year and a half since I've been a host on Paddle and Fit.
Since you retired?
Yeah, it's crazy to me. It's been that long, but
Sure.
I've been friends with these people for over a year and a half because I haven't been on the podcast that long, and I did it for 2 years. So I mean, up to like 3.5 years, I've been friends with some of these people, and like over social media, Facebook and stuff, seeing how a lot of them have grown from, they were messaging me back in the day, like, hey, I love your podcast. Thank you for doing that. That's, I love like seeing it broke down from a perspective of somebody new and everything. And seeing them where they started and, they were struggling to catch fish, and seeing them now, like some of them, now they're like getting sponsors and, placing well in tournaments and stuff. And man, it was just really cool. And, it all came from, I don't catch on to stuff easily.
Sure.
Like it's hard for me to catch on to stuff, and it's not just fishing. It's just in general, it's my brain don't process stuff as well as some people, I guess. And it takes more for me to catch on. And then whenever you get fishing advice from people generally, it comes with a sense of like, you have to halfway know what what they're talking about. They're like, oh, fish eddies, fish drop offs and stuff like. How do I know what that is? I don't know what that is. I don't know what a hump is. I don't.
Sure.
At that time, like I have no idea what you're talking about. And so that's why I went into it from a perspective of like, okay, break that down. You want me to fish a hump? Like, tell me, what is a hump? How do I find this hump? And whenever I do find it, how do you say fish the hump? Okay, am I casting over and dragging over it, or am I throwing on top of it and letting it go down? I was like, how do you do that? And just trying to break it down. There was a really good reaction out of that whenever people were hearing it, and I think that there were a lot of more experienced anglers that, one, thought it was cool that it was being broke down that way and was able to break it down that way, and two, it kind of opened their mind, because a lot of these people that are being kind of vague, they don't realize they're being vague because
it's common.
Yeah,
it's
common
just
kind of assume people know that kind of stuff, and so I think it kind of put a thing in a few people's heads. They're like, okay, when I'm explaining stuff, maybe I should be a little more detailed in it.
Sure.
So possibly, a lot of some of those people we've had on, that I've interviewed, they do like seminars and stuff like that. So,
yeah,
kind of makes me feel good to think that maybe they transition that to their seminars or just helping people in general to like break it down a little more.
Sure.
No, pat on the back for myself.
Yeah. No, it makes total sense, man. And I saw you absorbing that information, and I mean, what was it like the first couple of years you fished? You could pretty much recount every fish you caught, right?
No.
Now you probably can't remember how many fish you caught last year.
I went out bass fishing for like probably close to 2 years before I actually caught my first bass. Like not even a little one, like nothing. But I liked going out there, being on the water. And honestly, I kind of hate to say it, but I kind of like the status of being a fisherman. So
sure.
At work, people are like, "You fish?" Yeah, I fish. Even though I don't catch anything, I go out and fish.
That's what it's about, man.
But yeah, I do know how many fish I caught last year because me and Sean still keep up with how many fish.
Right. Yeah.
But it's still not amazing. Yeah. But when I started the podcast in 2018, I think I started fishing in 2013. I started the podcast in 2019. I'm sorry, but I started bass fishing in like 2013, and from 2013 to that point, I think I'd only caught like 15 or 20 bass. So it's like a 6-year period. And, that year doing the podcast and interviewing people, getting information from them, just having y'all, we had that big group chat of all paddle and
Sure.
fin hosts, and, having, y'all's advice and everything. And I think even just being in a kayak, making it more accessible, making it easier to go out. So I go out more often
Sure.
and so more time on the water. Like I caught more fish in that 1 year than I caught, the whole 6 years before that combined. And then I think I doubled that number the next year and, just slowly progress. And, you know, I feel like I can hold my, I've never won a tournament still,
I
but
thought you won a 4-4-4 tournament down there.
well, yeah, I've won that, but it's four people, so I don't get too excited to like, oh, I
Hey,
beat
man, you
three other.
beat 3 other
Hey,
guys, dude.
I did, but yeah, I don't count that as a tournament win
Sure.
in my book. But that was like a big thing to me at the time. Whenever I won that, because like I don't know, I'd actually went out and practiced a couple times before I went out. And so when I went out there, I knew what the fish had been doing, knew where I'd been catching them, and I went out there and caught them, and I also beat Jason Ricketts in our little bracket tournament.
Oh,
We were doing
yeah.
paddle and fin at the
Yeah.
same time because I kind of combined the two and did them both at the same time.
Sure.
But yeah,
It's good stuff, man. Good stuff. No, I like I said, dude, I felt like I got to sit back and watch one of my little kids grow up, it's cool to see that, right? Like, cuz especially nowadays with the pandemic and stuff like that, a lot of people got back into the outdoor sports, fishing, kayaking, things like that. And it's cool. And like you said, you quote unquote like the status of being a fisherman, and even though you weren't out there just wrecking them, you were out there having fun, enjoying yourself, trying to figure it out and stuff like that. And I think that's the most important part, just being out there and having a great time. So
yeah. I mean, like I'd go out with my buddy, and like I had like a John boat with a bow mount trolling
sure.
motor on the front with foot control, and he would bring his little hand steering tiller motor to put on the back to kind of push us a little faster because
Sure.
we'd go out to a place. I know you've heard me talk about it, but Williamsport here. We'd go
Sure.
out there, it's trolling motor only. So we'd put two motors on there and try to get there as quick as possible to move spots. And, we'd be out there, it'd be hot and we ain't caught nothing. And, next thing you know, like I'm going down the water and he's turning it and making the boat turn and like to mess with me. And we're doing a donut in the water. So we still found ways to have fun, even though we weren't catching fish. And it was cool to be out on the water and everything. And
Sure.
I don't know, just.
No, it's good stuff, man. I dig it. I dig it. So moving forward, like when, because I don't even remember when this all went down, but when did you get into a new canoe, and what was your first model new canoe?
So it's been a little over 2 years now. It was back in 2020. It was actually around the time we did the Dale Hollow meetup,
Sure.
down there at Eastport. And my first one was a Frontier 12. And it's actually the one that Jimmy brought to that meetup that was
Oh, yeah.
is
Yeah.
is owned by Mike
Schmitz.
Smith.
Yeah.
Man, I'm glad you said that because he's probably gonna be mad if he watches this.
I
Like,
saw you reaching for it.
yeah, I don't know why his last name slipped my mind because we talk quite a bit and everything. Like Mike's a cool dude, but I kind of bought his new canoe 12 Frontier 12 from him through Jimmy because Jimmy
Okay.
brought it out there and I'd been looking at it on Marketplace and I saw it out there as like, and I'd been wanting one. And so I ended up buying that from him. And yeah, so I still had my Jackson at the time, and I used my Jackson for tournaments and stuff. But if I was just like going out fun fishing, or like wanted to take my son with me or something, I'd take that Frontier 12 because, I had 2 seats on it. It's super stable. I'd take him. We'd go out there to Williamsport, or we'd go up here to Duck River. I put in there, and my son, he just had a blast. Up there, I'm paddling, and they're not the best paddling kayak, but they're definitely not the worst I've been in.
Sure.
They still paddle decent for as wide as they are, and my son, if it wasn't for the stability of the F12, like he would have flipped us like several times. Like, oh, there's a leaf in the water, and just like head first down into the water to grab this leaf. And
Sure.
there's not too many kayaks out there that can comfortably put 2 people in it, and then the stability as well to support that.
Yeah.
So like that was a good buy for me.
Nice. And what are you going to be in for 2023?
So I haven't talked to Richard about it yet, but I think the plan is I think I'm going to have him order me a unlimited.
Okay.
I still haven't owned an unlimited yet. I've been in one and stuff, but I think it's time for me to go ahead and get one and try it out. And like, I really want to see it's one thing like getting in a kayak and just trying it out for a few minutes or something,
Sure.
but then actually owning it and like doing everything in it
through the paces.
So I want to see the real difference between the F12 and the unlimited, because the F12 is a great kayak, but I love the bells and whistles they added to the unlimited. Like, I know it's different in ways, but in a way it kind of is like they took the F12 and the stuff that customers wanted in the F12 that it doesn't have, and just put that into the unlimited, and that's how that came about. That's the way I feel like in my head.
We're going to have you back on after you got some time in that boat, and I want to pick your brain on what you feel the differences are, because you've spent a lot of time in both, and it's been a hot minute since I've been in a Frontier 12, so my memory is not going to be as fresh on the topic.
I haven't used mine much. This past year I was in a Pursuit.
Yeah.
Because last year, Richard was looking for people to represent Eastport. And so, I hesitated at first. I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if I'd be qualified and all this. And I finally reached out to him, and he's like, you know what, let's do it. I was already in the Frontier 12 at the time. So I was already in a new canoe, and he's like, and so I actually ended up getting a kayak through him. I was like, I'm gonna get the Pursuit, because nobody was getting the Pursuit. Everybody wanted the unlimited at the time. And I'm like, man, this kayak just seems too cool to not be as popular as it is.
Sure.
And let me tell you what, the Pursuit, that thing is fast. I got the XI3 on it. And man, that thing will book. And not only that, this is my first year with a motor on the kayak, so there's been a little bit of a learning curve for that with me. And one of the learning curves is, I'm used to always, when I catch a fish, I got it, take the hook out, throw the hook in the water. That way it's out of the way. I'm not getting hooked on it. It's not hooking anything else. Well, when you got that XI3 with spot lock, and you hit that spot lock, and it's sitting there moving you, holding you on that spot as you drift off, if you throw that lure in the water, sometimes it likes to go over there and wrap your line up in there, and you think a fish done been a hold while you're sitting there measuring your other fish. And so that's happened a few times this year where
that's a total Ryan Milford story.
You know what, I own it. But that's happened a few times this year where I'm spot locked, lines in the water, and it goes over there and wraps my line up in the propeller. Well, it does it fast enough to where you can't just pull it out. It's wrapped up in there. So I would have to pull my motor up and paddle somewhere, like over to a bank or something, where I can get out and unwrap it. And even with the weight of my battery, with the motor, plus all my gear and everything, um, the Pursuit just paddles amazingly, even with
Yeah.
all that on there. Without it on there, it paddles even better. I mean, this is easily the Pursuit is easily the best paddling kayak I've ever been in.
Nice.
But you know, it doesn't quite have the stability of the F12 or the Unlimited, but it's the stability is still there. Like it
Yeah.
has plenty of stability. I'm 280 pounds, 6 foot, and I can stand up and fish in it.
Yep.
But I mean, you just got to learn it, just like any other kayak. Is like I said, it's not going to have as much stability, but you still got plenty of stability. I've even hit spot lock while going full speed on accident and didn't flip this thing. So,
Well, I remember, was it last year or the year before? I got the XI3 and I put it on my
you got an
Unlimited.
XI3 now? I didn't know you had an XI3. I
I
thought you
got
were using.
both. I got both.
Okay,
I get
okay.
to I go in
Big
the
boss
garage.
over here.
I go in the garage and I'm like, XI3 Newport, XI3 Newport. All right, today I'll go with the XI3. Well, I got it because you know me, I like to fish offshore a little bit on some
Mhm.
structure. So when it was windy, it only made sense with the spot lock feature. But I remember the first time I launched here at the local lake, and I go to take off, and you know it takes a little getting used to on the turning with the remote, and I I held that button a little too long, going full speed, and almost just threw myself out of the kayak, you know. But
Man, I would have loved to have seen that happen though.
I was like, oh, but you know, it's one of those things, you know, it's with anything, there's a little bit of a learning curve. And I know Clint Jenkins said he was sold on the Pursuit and was told that it wasn't anywhere near as stable as the Unlimited. And you know, I think you hit on
It's
that a little bit.
Well, I mean, that's not a fair comparison, though.
I
I mean, you're
agree.
talking like a 35-inch kayak to what's the Unlimited, a 41, 42?
Correct. 41.
So, I mean, that's of course it's not going to be as stable as that kayak.
Sure.
You know, if it was, there would be no need to have a kayak that wide as
Sure.
an Unlimited.
Right.
But it's still, you know, plenty stable
Yeah.
for what. Now, I will admit, the first time I got in that Pursuit, what's up, Brock? The first time I got in that Pursuit, I felt like it was unstable. Like, because I was used, well, I had been in the F12, but like I said, that's not a fair comparison.
Sure.
Other than that, as far as size comparison, what I was used to was my Jackson Bite FD that I'd been in. So, because it's 35 to 36 inches wide, so about the same.
Sure.
Oh, Robbie, that's one of my assistant tournament directors right there.
Nice.
And so compared to that, if it felt really unstable, and I was like, man, I hope I didn't just make a mistake. But then I realized the stability is like in second stability.
Yeah.
So you're gonna move a little bit, but once you hit that point, it's gonna take it a lot to go past that. You know what I
Sure.
mean?
Hmm.
So it's got the secondary stability in it, and once you're in it a couple times and just kind of get the feel for it, like you learn that, and it doesn't bother you at all.
Yeah. No, I completely agree, man. I had a similar experience back in the day when you know, actually was in a bona fide and I was at a demo and, you know, I got out of the bona fide and went into the Pursuit and, you know, I didn't have that automatic primary stability right away. And it kind of steered me away, and I regret that decision now years later because, like you mentioned, that Pursuit is like so much faster.
Oh yeah, it's a
Hindsight, you
super
know,
fast kayak.
yeah, 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 and you know, I fished out of a Pursuit for 2 years, I think it was, and I loved every second about it because you know, I had a trolling motor on the back, and that was before Newport and all that stuff, and
Right.
I'm too cheap to buy a Torpedo, so you know, I, you know, rigged up a little transom mount trolling motor, but I remember just blowing past guys on the water, and they were like, "Man, that thing's fast." Like they thought I had like an 80-pound thrust motor, and I'm like, "No, that thing's just like 35 pounds, bro." Like, or 50 pounds or whatever it was. But that haul shape is just super, super fast.
Yeah, I mean it's slick, man. I remember when I first got it. I'd been in, I got it a year ago, so I wasn't no stranger to kayaking whenever I got it. But when I first got it, like I just walk out in the garage and I'd look at it and like, man, this thing just looks so sick. Like like I don't know, it's got this unique, sleek, cool look to it.
Agree.
It's been I mean, there's pros and cons to it and the unlimited. It's about finding the balance. You don't sit up as high
Sure.
in the pursuit as the unlimited. Some people have preference. It don't have as much stability. That don't mean that it don't have stability.
Right.
It just don't have as much. But I mean, it's also a lot faster. My buddy Caleb Godwin, he got his unlimited the same day I got my pursuit. We drove up there and got them together.
Yeah.
And he's got an XI3. Well, we've raced back to the ramp before, and I'm gone. Like he's turning it down. He's like, I ain't running my battery down for this. I already know I'm gonna lose. But I mean, one thing about the pursuit's just so long. It's
Yeah.
long and skinny and lightweight, and it's got a sleek hull, and so the thing just cruises. Now it does. If you're going to put it in the river, you can fish rivers with it. I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
It's not the best for turning in rivers, but it's manageable. If you wanted like a good like lake and something you can still put in the river kayak, I mean, you can definitely do that. Uh, is it the best riverboat? No, but will it definitely work? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, no, I hear you, man. I definitely hear you on that. It's interesting, right? And everybody's different, and everybody looks for different features to fit their style of
And
kayak
there's no
fishing and
perfect
stuff like
kayak
that.
out there.
Yeah,
Like there's no perfect kayak. There's going to be kayaks that are better at this or better at that, and if there was a perfect kayak, everybody would be in it.
yeah, I agree. So before we wind down, man, want to give you a chance to. I know you've mentioned Richard and Eastport Marina a little bit. Kind of fill people in on who they are and what they do, and they're they're a new canoe dealer, obviously, and where can people find them and all that good stuff, dude.
Yeah, so Richard, he's the owner of Eastport Marina. It's marina out on the Obi River out at Del Hollow Lake. He and it's a family owned and operated business there. Him and his son, pretty much take care of everything around there, and they're just awesome people. They're
Yeah,
really good people, and they truly care about their customers. I mean, they're they're a company. They're trying to make a living and stuff, but Richard invests so much back into his marina and surrounding properties he had, because it's not just a marina.
yeah,
He's got the cabins, he's got the barn, which is like a rental
venue.
facility or
Yeah,
venue, I guess is a better word for it.
sure.
He's got all that going on, and he keeps on and on and on trying to develop his property to like to be make it a better experience for his guests. And I just think that's so cool. He's not just somebody that's just money hungry, like trying to
Yeah,
get as much money as possible and not trying to create a good experience for his customers. Like he's constantly trying to think of a way to like improve everything out there, which I think is awesome as a business owner. And they just got a really cool setup. Hey, I'm down. I'm down.
I mean, we got a tournament there.
Oh, Robbie's a boat guy.
Oh,
See,
okay.
see, that's the thing
Well,
about
we
my
could do kayaks versus boats. I mean, I'm down with that.
it the boats get smoked all the time in my club because we got a our club is on at Williamsport, as I talked about earlier. It's
Sure.
trolling motor only, so we go by catch photo release like kayak tournaments do, but
Okay.
you're allowed to fish out of a boat, kayak, canoe,
Oh,
off the
that's
bank,
cool.
however
Yeah.
you want to do it, and we just we do it like that. And some boat guys will win, some kayak guys will win. There there hasn't been a set platform that makes you win yet. So, but
Nice.
but
I
yeah,
just
so
wanna hit this comment real quick. Brock Howell said the biggest and widest kayak and the unlimited fit that for me. He says Brian makes fun of me for it because I'm such a little dude, and that's true, dude. Like you could probably fit 4 Brocks in the hull of an unlimited. I'm just saying, but
hey
no.
Brock, I just hope you've avoided boat propellers in that thing.
That's a story for another day. Yeah. Yeah, my man got hit by a boat once in a different brand kayak, and thankfully, he was paying attention. Always pay attention while
Yeah,
you're on the water. You never know what'll happen, but yeah,
but yeah, so Eastport, man, it's just a really cool place. There's new canoe dealers, Yak Attack dealer, Yak Gadget. They got like all kinds of accessories and everything. So if
bending
you're
branches, paddles,
yeah,
right? Bending
yeah,
branches. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they got a little bit of everything out there. He's really went in trying to do. He's got motors. He's got the Newports. He's got the XI3s. So and I mean he might have some of last year's models still left. Um, so yeah, like if anybody's in the area and interested in a new last year model, you might hit them up and see what y'all can work out.
Yeah. Yeah, he always keeps a really, really good inventory, man, and that's one thing. And I think you hit it on the head. Ever since I've met him, Richard is always looking for the next thing, and he's reinvesting into his business, and he really cares about his customers and the people that come down even to visit from out of state. And that area where it's at, it's beautiful. If you guys have
Oh
never
my
been
God, it's
down there,
gorgeous.
go spend a weekend there, rent one of the little cabins. They're cheap, and you could take a bunch of buddies, and there's boat ramp right there. And I mean, there's, largemouth, smallmouth, walleye,
Hey,
crappie, like everything is right there.
and you know what? Take a bunch of buddies. Take about 20 to 25 buddies and tell them you want to stay at the Hodgepodge Lodge.
That's where it's at.
Yeah.
That's where it's at.
Hey, there's the 3-story cabin. That's
Yeah.
where we all stayed when we had our paddle and fin meetup for the first time out there, and we stayed in that cabin. And I'll never forget it. It's got like you're kind of back there to yourself, plenty of parking, 3-story cabin. Man, there's so many beds, and it's got the hot tub. It's got the ping pong
Punk
table.
table. Yeah.
And man, it was a really good time out there just doing that. And then we can all pack up and go down there to the boat ramp and go fishing
Yep.
and go down there and eat at the restaurant.
Yep. And the ladies down there always take care of you, man. And they got pizzas now, man. Which, I mean, look at me, bro. I love
And beer.
pizza
I
and
love
beer.
beer.
I wanna hit this question real quick from Buck Dragger. He said, last spring I bought an unlimited and an F10. What power motor do you recommend for an unlimited for waterfowl and fishing? What I use for both of those situations is the Newport Vessels NK180. I've taken it through some pretty gnarly marsh grass. If it's super matted up, you may want to pop that motor up and paddle a little bit because those weeds are going to get caught in the prop a little. But it will cut through some pretty thick weeds. I'm talking when I'm saying it's getting caught up, it's thick. It's solid weeds, like 10% water, the rest weeds. But that's what I personally use for both situations. XI3, I don't think you would want that for waterfowl hunting because then you have the motor in the front and you can't put your duck blind on. But anything transom mount, I know a couple guys that run mud motors for waterfowl hunting off the back of their kayaks, like little 3-horse mud motors. But you definitely wouldn't want to use that for fishing, obviously. So, one of those things. But
Yeah, that was definitely more of a you question because I don't hunt for waterfowl, but as far as fishing, when it comes to fishing, it really depends on your fishing style.
sure,
The XI3 is really meant for more like offshore type stuff. I don't use it for that. I'm a bank beater, and I'll put it on heading lock and just head down a bank line, casting, and what's cool about it is when you catch a fish, you can put spot lock and just hold your spot while you're under your fish and whatever you got to do, and then you can just keep going from where it is. But it's really meant for more like offshore type stuff, where like a Torpedo or a Newport probably be more efficient for bank beater.
sure,
I
sure,
would
sure,
say
sure. Yeah, I agree with
it,
that
it depends on what you're comfortable with, though.
for sure. Bobby Barron says, I'll buy if Ryan gets in the hot tub with us. Don't threaten him with a good time.
Hey, I will.
uh,
Hey, hey, we put 3 big boys in that hot tub.
I think it was more
Me,
like 6, but
hey, that last night, me, you, and Dustin all
yeah.
getting in that
Oh,
hot tub.
that's
And
right.
when we
Yeah,
got out, it was half empty.
yeah.
Yeah, Eastport Marina
Yep.
on the Obi River, Del Hollow Lake. Check it out. It's a really cool place. Tell them we sent you.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure Richard's tuning in right now. I know he's on vacation. I've seen him. Maybe he's on his way back, but super good people. They're like family down there. So definitely go check them out, Clint, if you're looking for some accessories, stuff like that. Cool little shop. Grab lunch while you're down there. Maybe a beverage, do a little fishing, but cool, beautiful, beautiful scenic area in Middle Tennessee for sure. For sure. So before I let you go, my man, I always wrap up the New Canoe Show with this one question, and I'm going to hit you with it. You got a Frontier 12. It's rigged up tandem. You can go fishing with anybody for a day, dead or alive. Who's it going to be?
Oh man, don't. There's so many different answers I could go with this. But, I don't.
I mean, it could be anybody. I mean, if you
I'll,
ask me, I would go with you, my friend.
you're full of it. I want to say Jesus, but it'd be too easy. Like
Sure.
because he'd catch one fish and then it would be like 100 fish in the bottom of the boat all of a sudden.
Right.
Like, where'd this come from? It'd actually probably tear my confidence down. Him catch. Man, it's such a hard question, but I'd almost want to say my my great grandfather. We
Okay.
grew up on the same property as him. We always lived well back when my parents were still together. We lived on him and his family's property up in Kentucky, and so I grew up, you know, constantly around them. My grandma and grandpa lived on the same property. We were all like right there together. So,
That's cool.
I could just run over to their houses in a minute or two. And he had a pond on the property, and that's where I started fishing. He would stock it with a catfish and bluegill and stuff. And when he died, we weren't really on like speaking terms and stuff. And
Sure.
it kind of bothers me. And so I'd love to be able to get out with him and go fishing with him again. And even if it's just one more day, like kind of rekindle that and like get to spend that time with him doing something we loved to do when I was little.
That's cool. I like that, dude. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. I can relate, man. I grew up next to my grandparents till I was like 13. And it was so cool because, if mom and dad said no, you could run over to grandma and grandpa's house and they'd say yes. So
Yeah,
But
yeah, and my great grandma and great grandpa were my babysitters while my parents went to work before I started school, and
sure,
so yeah, I was super close to them back then,
that's cool, man. I like that.
and
I like that a
yeah, they
lot.
spoiled the heck out of me.
That's what grandparents do, bro. No, I dig it, man. Well, I definitely appreciate you hopping on tonight and just kind of sharing your story and your experience and stuff like that. And it's cool to see all the stuff you've accomplished over the years, and now you're on Team New Canoe, and we're
I know.
teammates, bro. We're
I feel so
teammates.
grown up now.
I feel so grown up now. Hey, I mean, you just graduated high school, bro.
I know. But no, I appreciate you having me on. It's been a long time since I've done this, so
Sure.
I had to shake off the nerves before I came on. It's been so long.
Well, we'll get you back on, man, after you get in that unlimited, because I definitely want to kind of pick your brain with all three kayaks, right? Because you just got out of the pursuit, you're getting in the unlimited, compared to the F12, and maybe we'll get like two other guys that have experience in all threes and all three of them, and just kind of talk about all the differences and stuff.
Yeah,
I
that'd
think
be
that would be
cool.
cool. You know
Yeah,
what I
let,
mean?
let me get a little experience with it and just kind of see, what my thoughts are on it. That'd be really cool. Come back on and do that.
Get your toes wet.
Yeah.
Ethan Jett said you'll have your toes painted as well.
You know what? He's saying that because I went to a tournament with my toenails painted.
I remember
Um,
this.
yeah, and he tried to give me a hard time about it, but I owned it because the reason my toenails were painted is because the night before my daughter asked me if she could paint my toenails, and if Daddy's little girl wants to paint my toenails, she can paint my toenails, and I'm gonna own it.
I love it. I
He'll
love
hey,
it.
he'll know one day. He's still single, no kids. Kind of mid-20s. One day, he has a little girl. He'll find out.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Trust me, I know. My daughter's 19 and I'm still giving her whatever she wants.
My
So
daughter thinks she's 19.
yeah, well, just wait, bro. Just wait. Just wait. I love it. Thank you, everybody who tuned in tonight. Go give Ryan a follow on Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. What's your Instagram handle, Ryan?
I don't even remember anymore, dude. I barely ever get on Instagram anymore. I
So
think
hit him
it's
up
just
on Facebook. Would
Ryan
that be?
Milford Fishing.
What is it?
I think it's Ryan-Milford-Fishing.
Okay. All right. Give him a follow. I know Clint is looking to reach out to you to figure out how to hook up and fish.
No dashes. No dashes.
No dashes. Ryan Milford Fishing. Got it. Got it.
But
If you
yeah,
guys go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, if anybody's in the area and you want to go fishing sometime, let's do it.
Nice. Nice. Hit them up. If you guys are in the Middle Tennessee area, you're looking for a new kayak, go visit Eastport Marina. Like we said, beautiful place to just go fish, pick up an accessory, grab some lunch, all that good stuff. Go check those folks out. Thank you to everybody being here. We're here every Tuesday night, 7 Central, 8 Eastern, 5 o'clock out on the West Coast, sitting down, talking to guys like Ryan, some of our dealers, and anytime we got new products or product updates, things like that, we share them here as well. If you guys got questions about products, like we answered a few questions tonight in regards to a couple of kayak models, motors, things like that, always feel free to jump in here. We're more than willing to sit down and chat with you guys and, answer those questions for you. If you're on the fence about something, if we don't know the answer, we definitely know somebody that does. So thanks everybody for tuning in. We will catch you next week. As always, boys and girls, tight lines, smooth paddling. Peace.
Later.